Welcome to the Cenario Podcast, your guide to mental health and well-being. Each episode, we uncover practical tools, discuss expert insights, and explore how supplements can transform your mental health journey. Get ready to learn, grow, and thrive with us.
We all know life can be tough, right? It throws curveballs, and sometimes those challenges really get to us.
Yeah, for sure. And we've been looking at some research that calls this feeling psychological distress.
Catchy name, but what does it actually mean?
Basically, think of it as emotional and mental discomfort when things get rough. Like your brain's way of saying, hey, something's not right here.
So it's more than just feeling sad or stressed.
Right, it's a whole mix of stuff. You might feel anxious, depressed, or just completely overwhelmed by everything.
And everyone feels this way sometimes, don't they?
Absolutely, it's a normal part of being human. But it's when those feelings stick around or start messing with your life that it becomes a problem.
Okay, so it's like a spectrum then, from a bit stressed to totally unable to cope.
Exactly. Can range from mild to moderate to severe, and it can affect people in very different ways.
So for this deep dive, let's break it all down. What causes psychological distress? How do we recognize it? And what can we do about it?
Sounds like a plan. Let's start with the causes. One of the biggest culprits is work-related stress.
That's a big one for so many people. What are some examples of work stress that can lead to this distress?
Oh, tons of things. Too much work, conflicts with coworkers, worrying about your job security, or just feeling completely burned out.
Yeah, I can see how those things would take a toll. What about outside of work? What other causes did the research mention?
Well, money problems are a huge one.
Makes sense. Money worries can really weigh you down.
Yeah. Debt, unemployment, or just not feeling financially secure can trigger anxiety and depression. And it's not just mental. It can even lead to physical health issues like heart problems.
Wow, that's a strong connection.
It is. And then, of course, there are relationship problems.
Those can be so tough.
Absolutely. Conflicts with partners, family, friends, they can all have a huge impact on your well-being. Plus, being isolated or lacking social support can make things even worse, especially if you're already feeling down.
So strong relationships are really key.
They really are. And then there are those more serious events that can trigger psychological distress, like trauma.
Things like abuse, accidents, or the loss of someone close.
Exactly. Those kinds of experiences can lead to long-term problems like PTSD, which often need professional help.
It's important to acknowledge that trauma can have lasting effects.
Definitely. And we can't forget about physical health either. Chronic illnesses, disabilities, serious medical conditions, they can all cause distress.
I imagine it's hard enough dealing with the physical side of things, let alone the emotional impact.
It is. And even just the stress of managing a long-term illness can lead to anxiety and depression.
So it's like a double whammy.
Right. And finally, even big life changes can cause distress.
Things like moving, changing jobs, or even retiring.
Yeah, any kind of major transition, even if it's positive, can create stress and uncertainty. It takes time to adjust, even to good changes.
So we've talked about some of the big causes, but how do you actually recognize psychological distress? What are the signs?
Well, there are a few different categories. First, there are emotional symptoms, like feeling constantly sad, anxious, or hopeless.
Those are pretty clear signs.
Right. But there are also cognitive symptoms.
Yeah.
These are more about how you're thinking.
Okay, like what?
You might have trouble concentrating, making decisions, or find yourself constantly worrying. You might also get stuck in negative self-talk, criticizing yourself all the time.
Yeah, I've definitely experienced that.
Then there are physical symptoms.
So it can manifest physically too.
Absolutely. Things like sleep problems, muscle tension, headaches, digestive issues, even a higher risk of heart problems and high blood pressure.
That's scary.
It is a reminder of how interconnected our mind and body are. And finally, there are behavioral symptoms.
How you act.
Yeah, you might withdraw from people, avoid social situations, or turn to unhealthy coping mechanisms.
Like drinking too much or overeating.
Unfortunately, yes. And you might also notice changes in your appetite or sleep patterns.
So many different ways it can show up.
It's a complex thing, and the intensity can vary too.
Right. You mentioned mild, moderate, and severe distress earlier. What does that actually look like? Let's start with mild.
Okay, so mild distress is usually a temporary reaction to everyday stresses. Like a tough day at work or a disagreement with someone. You might feel a bit irritable, sad, or anxious, but you can still function normally.
Okay, so it's like those days where you're just a bit off.
Exactly. And Usually things like relaxation techniques, exercise, or talking to someone you trust can help.
What about moderate distress?
Moderate distress is when the symptoms start to interfere with your life more. You might have trouble sleeping, concentrating, or managing your emotions. You might also start experiencing physical symptoms like headaches or fatigue.
So it's more than just a bad mood.
Right. And at this stage, it's often helpful to seek professional help.
Okay, and then there's severe distress. That sounds pretty serious.
It is. Severe distress is when the emotional suffering is so intense that it affects almost every part of your life. Your work, your relationships, your ability to function. You might experience severe anxiety, depression, panic attacks, or even suicidal thoughts.
That's really serious.
It is, and at that level, it's crucial to seek professional help immediately.
So it's not just about how intense the feelings are, but also how much they're impacting your life.
Exactly. And there are different types of psychological distress, too. It's not all the same.
Oh, right. The research talked about that. Can you break those down for us?
Sure. So there's acute distress, which is a short-term reaction to a specific stressor.
Like a sudden breakup or job loss.
Exactly. And the good news is that the symptoms usually fade once the stressor is resolved.
That makes sense. What about chronic distress?
Chronic distress is persistent. It lasts for weeks, months, or even years. It's often associated with ongoing problems like financial difficulties, toxic relationships, or chronic illnesses.
Sounds incredibly draining.
It can be. Then there's post-traumatic distress, which develops after a traumatic event like abuse or violence.
Right, and that can lead to PTSD if it's not addressed.
That's right. And then there's social distress, which comes from feelings of loneliness, isolation, or difficulty connecting with others.
I can see how that would be incredibly distressing.
It is. And finally, there's work-related distress, which we talked about earlier.
So the type of distress can really depend on the cause and how long it's been going on.
Exactly. And it can also vary depending on your age.
That's an interesting point. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, the research looked at how psychological distress can manifest differently in different age groups.
What did they find? Let's start with kids.
Okay, so for children between 6 and 12, common causes of distress include family conflicts, school pressure, bullying, or traumatic experiences. Symptoms can look like excessive crying, irritability, appetite changes, nightmares, or difficulty concentrating.
Poor kids. They don't always have the words to express what they're feeling.
Right. Open communication and support are so important for them.
What about teenagers?
Well, adolescence comes with its own set of challenges. Academic pressure, peer influence, figuring out their identity, social media. It can all be pretty overwhelming.
Yeah, being a teenager is tough.
It is. And symptoms in this age group can include mood swings, withdrawal from family, anxiety, or engaging in risky behavior.
So much change and so many intense emotions.
Absolutely. And then there are young adults, roughly 19 to 30. They're often dealing with major life transitions like starting college, finding a job, or forming serious relationships. Financial stress, career uncertainty, and societal expectations can all contribute to distress in this age group.
So many big decisions to make.
It's a lot to handle. And for middle-aged adults, say 31 to 50, common stressors might be job stability, marriage and parenting challenges, financial responsibilities, and increasing health concerns.
I can relate to that.
Symptoms in this age group often include fatigue, anxiety, irritability, or difficulty balancing work and life demands.
It's a juggling act.
It can be. And finally, for older adults, those 51 and over, distress can stem from loneliness, health problems, loss of loved ones, or adjusting to retirement.
It's a time of significant change for many.
It is. And it's important to note that depression and anxiety are actually quite common in older adults, but they're often underdiagnosed.
So it's something to be mindful of at any age.
Exactly. Now, we've talked about the different types of distress and how it can manifest, but what happens when it's not addressed?
Yeah, the research warned about some serious consequences for mental and physical health.
Right. Prolonged psychological distress can increase the risk of developing several mental health disorders, including anxiety disorders, depression, PTSD, obsessive-compulsive disorder, and panic disorders.
And those can have a huge impact on your life.
Absolutely. They can affect your ability to work, maintain relationships, and even just function day to day. But even beyond specific disorders, chronic distress can also impact your cognitive and emotional functioning.
Like,
you might have trouble concentrating, remembering things, making decisions, or controlling your emotions. You might also experience racing thoughts, overthinking, or emotional numbness.
that sounds incredibly debilitating.
It can be. And it also makes you less resilient to stress.
Meaning what?
Basically, you become less able to cope with challenges. Little things start to feel overwhelming, and your stress response becomes exaggerated.
So it's like a downward spiral.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not just your mental health that suffers. Chronic distress can also have physical consequences.
Right. We talked about that earlier.
It can increase your risk of heart problems, weaken your immune system, cause digestive issues, disrupt your sleep, and lead to chronic fatigue and body aches.
It really is a whole body experience.
It is. And unfortunately, some people try to cope with this distress in unhealthy ways.
Like substance abuse?
Yeah, alcohol, drugs, overeating, undereating. These are all common coping mechanisms that can actually make things worse in the long run.
And they can damage relationships too.
Absolutely. Distress can lead to social withdrawal, irritability, and difficulty communicating, which can strain relationships with loved ones.
And in the worst cases, it can lead to suicidal thoughts.
Yes, that's a very serious consequence that can't be ignored. If you're experiencing suicidal thoughts, please reach out for help immediately. There are resources available, and you don't have to go through this alone.
That's so important to remember. But there is hope, right? The research mentions some effective coping strategies.
Absolutely. There are many things you can do to manage psychological distress and build resilience.
Like what?
Well, mindfulness and relaxation techniques are a great place to start. Things like meditation, deep breathing exercises, or yoga can help calm your mind, reduce stress, and improve emotional regulation.
Those can be so helpful for managing anxiety.
They really are. Social support is also crucial. Talk to people you trust, join a support group, or connect with others who understand what you're going through.
It helps to know you're not alone.
It does. And don't underestimate the power of physical activity.
Exercise can be a great mood booster.
It releases endorphins, which have mood-boosting and stress-reducing effects. And it's good for your physical health, too.
Win-win. What else can people do?
Prioritize self-care.
That's so important.
It is. Eat a healthy diet, get enough sleep, set boundaries, and make time for activities that bring you joy. These things are essential for maintaining good mental health.
And if it's still too much to handle,
Then don't hesitate to seek professional help. Therapists, counselors, and other mental health professionals can provide support and guidance, whether it's through therapy, medication, or a combination of both.
so there are many options available.
There are. And remember, asking for help is a sign of strength, not weakness.
So to sum it all up for our listeners, psychological distress is a normal human experience, but it's important to take it seriously and address it before it becomes overwhelming.
Exactly. Recognize the signs, understand the different types and levels, and use the coping strategies we've discussed to manage it effectively.
And if you need additional support, don't hesitate to reach out for professional help.
You don't have to struggle alone.
Now, we've covered a lot of ground today, but we've only scratched the surface of this complex topic.
There's always more to learn.
Exactly. So as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a question. What's one small step you can take today to prioritize your mental well-being? Maybe it's taking a few minutes to practice deep breathing, reaching out to a friend, or simply making a conscious effort to be kinder to yourself. Even small actions can make a big difference.
And maybe we can explore some more specific coping mechanisms or resources in a future deep dive.
That's a great idea. Until then, take care of yourselves.
Thanks for tuning in to the Cenario podcast. Don't forget to visit Cenario.com for more expert tips, articles, and supplements designed to support your mental health. If you enjoyed this episode, remember to subscribe and share it with a friend. Until next time, take care of yourself.